sent away. Because more passengers were traveling on the island of Sodor, more coaches were needed. That's why Sir Topham Hatt ordered an extra pair from the mainland. But all the hard work was getting too much for Gordon, so Sir Topham Hatt also purchased another engine from the mainland. The engine soon arrived. It was a big, strong tender engine like Gordon, except he was red, and his name was Eric. Eric was a rude and pompous sort of engine. He was especially displeased with Edward. Every time he saw him, he would wheeze clouds of steam in his face, sniffing disgustedly. And at night, Eric would go at it too. One night in the shed, Eric thought it necessary to go on Edward again. "He is such a useless and old engine," he scoffed. "What's his purpose of being here if all he does is stupid, simple shunting work?" Thomas and Henry angrily snorted him off. "Wish at me all you want," said Eric, "but I'm right. Edward should be sent away for all I care." Edward felt hurt, but he knew his friends always got his back. Every morning, Gordon takes with the express, and then a few engines leave at different trains afterwards. Edward usually goes out of his shed too, just shunt in the yard next to Tim of Sheds. It was a peaceful morning, and Edward was shunting once again. He was putting the trucks well in his place as he usually loved to do, when he heard a familiar whistle. It was Eric. He came stopping next to Edward, wishing loudly as usual. Shunting trucks as usual, I see. That's not quite what I call useful. Come and watch me leave with the express this morning. Then I'll show you how real trains are done. But shunting is useful in its own way, said Edward. If there's no one to shunt, then trains won't be ready. Stuff and nonsense, said Eric. Any engine could fetch their train, but we express engines are much too important for that. Have fun with your simple, stupid shunting. I'm gonna go fetch my express. Hopefully that will teach you how a real train is pulled. Edward felt quite hurt, but deep down he knew that shunting was important too, and that Eric was just too big for his boiler. Later, when Edward had finished shunting, he set off to Knapford to watch Eric leave the express and have a talk with Thomas afterwards. He was just in time to see Eric back down on his coaches. He gave some sort of grinning smile look to Edward. Now, my little Edward, I'll show you something. It wasn't long before all the passengers had got in, the doors were closed, everything was ready, and the guard blew his whistle. Eric's driver put as much steam in as he could and eased the regulator, but Eric wouldn't move. The driver eased it even more, but still Eric was in a standstill. Angry passengers went to complain to Sir Topham Hatt's office. "Now bother that," said the driver. "If you hadn't wheezed so much steam about on Edward all day, you would have had enough to set off." Edward couldn't help but give a chuckle. Sir Topham Hatt soon came to the scene. "Now first off, Eric," he said sternly, "I do not appreciate you encouraging my engines that they're useless, simple, but worst of all, sent away. Let me tell you who is going to be sent away. That would be you, Eric. You shall leave my island at once. You have shown unacceptable behavior." Eric had no words, and quickly shuffled out of the yard, with his face as red as his paintwork. Edward took a sigh of relief. This was the first engine to be sent away, and Edward really hoped it would be kept that way.